All right, so are you ready to dive deep?
Let's do it.
Today, we're tackling Adlerian psychology.
Oh, yeah, one of my favorites.
And we've got this book, The Courage to be Disliked, to guide us.
It's a really interesting format.
Yeah, it's like we're eavesdropping on this late-night conversation.
Between a young guy and this philosopher dude.
And they're going at it, debating life, happiness, all that good stuff.
All the big questions.
It really makes you think differently about things.
And I think that's what's so cool about Adler.
Yeah.
He challenges so much of what we think we know about personal growth.
Like, are we really defined by our past?
Right. Or, like, what does freedom actually look like?
I'll be honest, this book came into my life at a time when I was feeling super stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was trying all the usual self-help stuff and just nothing was working.
I've been there.
But Adler's ideas, they just hit different.
They do. It's like this radical idea that we can change, like, right now.
Okay, but wait, people can change right now.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, that's easier said than done, right?
Definitely, definitely.
The book uses the example of this guy. He's become a total shut-in.
Oh, I remember that.
He wants a normal life, but anxiety keeps him trapped in his room.
It's tough.
Are we really saying he's choosing that?
And that's what Adler would say. Yeah, instead of like digging into his past for some root cause,
Yeah.
Adlerian psychology says he's actually achieving certain goals.
So even though it feels like he's trapped, he's getting something out of it.
Subconsciously, maybe, yeah.
That's a tough one to swallow.
But it makes you think
It does. It makes you think.
about all those times we felt stuck ourselves.
Right. Like maybe there's more to it than we realize.
All about perspective.
So this shut-in guy, what's he getting out of it?
Well, think about it. By staying in, he avoids all that social anxiety.
That's true.
Plus, he might even be getting more attention from his family.
That's a good point.
It's not that he wants to be isolated,
Right.
but on some level, it's serving a purpose.
It's a real mind shift.
It is.
So to our listeners out there, think about a time you felt stuck
Yeah.
in a pattern you wanted to change desperately. Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, you were choosing to stay there,
Because it was actually meeting some need.
even if you weren't fully aware of it?
That's a big question, isn't it?
It is, and it leads us to another big Adlerian idea.
Lay on me.
The courage to be disliked.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Adler believed that seeking everyone's approval, it actually traps us.
It's so true. We end up living by their rules, not our own.
Ugh, tell me about it.
You've been there.
I used to be the queen of people-pleasing.
It's exhausting.
Oh, it is? Trying to be everything to everyone?
Yeah, you can't please everyone.
Have you ever felt that pressure to conform,
Totally. It's so common.
even if it meant sacrificing your own values?
Oh, yeah, I think we've all been there at some point.
But what if we embraced the idea of being disliked?
Whoa, hold on now.
Not in a mean way, but in a way that frees us to be ourselves,
I like that.
even if it ruffles some feathers.
It's about authenticity.
It is, and I'm starting to see how this connects to choosing our own path.
Right, exactly.
But if we're not defined by our past,
Yeah.
and we don't need everyone to like us, where do our problems actually come from?
Now, that is the million-dollar question.
Adler had a pretty strong opinion on that, right?
He did.
What was it?
He believed that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
All problems.
All of them.
Even things like feeling inferior.
Yep.
Or struggling with self-doubt.
Even those.
Those come from relationships, too.
Think about it. Even feeling inferior often stems from comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah. Okay.
The book gives this example of a young man.
Yeah.
He feels inadequate compared to his, super successful older brother.
Oh, I can see that.
He's always measuring himself against him.
Right.
And it just leads to frustration.
So if we're always comparing ourselves to others,
Yep.
we're basically setting ourselves up for unhappiness
It's like turning life into a competition.
instead of a journey of self-discovery.
Exactly.
Ouch.
Right. I feel that.
And that competition, according to Adler,
Yeah.
it all goes back to how we relate to each other.
So it all comes back to relationships.
Always.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is,
Okay, so all our problems come from relationships.
according to Adler. Yeah.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it kind of makes sense, right?
I mean, when you really think about
You
it.
start to see those patterns.
Yeah, like those relationships that just drain you.
Oh, totally.
Could it be those are the ones with all the power struggles?
It's very possible.
The book talks about this idea of horizontal relationships.
Yeah, horizontal relationships. That's a big one for Adler.
Exactly.
It's about relationships built on equality
Okay.
and respect.
Okay, so the opposite of a power struggle.
Pretty much.
But is that even realistic?
I think it is.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always easy. No, I mean, we're constantly bombarded with these messages about winning.
Right. Being better than others.
It's like it's built into our society.
It is, but Adler challenges that.
He does, and he even challenges things like praise and punishment.
Oh, yeah. Those were big no-nos for Adler.
Because
they create these vertical relationships.
where one person is superior
Exactly.
and the other is inferior.
It's all about power dynamics.
Like that example in the book, the mom praising her kid for helping with dinner.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
She wouldn't praise her husband for doing the same thing.
It highlights how praise often comes from a place of authority.
Not genuine appreciation.
Right. It's like, I'm the parent, you're the child, and I'm going to praise you for doing what I told you to do.
So how do we break free from these vertical relationships?
That's not easy, that's for sure.
Is it even possible?
I think so, but it takes a lot of awareness.
And effort.
Definitely effort.
Adler gives us some tools, though, right?
He does, like the separation of tasks.
Okay, that sounds kind of technical.
It does, but it's actually pretty simple.
Break it down for me.
You basically ask yourself, whose task is this?
Whose task is this?
Yeah, like, let's say your kid is struggling with their homework.
Okay.
Whose task is it?
It's my kid's task.
Exactly. You could offer support, of course,
But it's ultimately up to them.
to get it done.
So as tempting as it is to, like, nag them
And bribe them.
or even do it for them,
All of those things. I'm actually overstepping.
you're interfering with their task.
And that could backfire.
It often does. It can make them dependent on you for motivation.
Instead of building their own.
Internal drive.
This is blowing my mind a little bit.
It's a big shift in thinking.
It is. It's like I have more control over my life than I thought,
Exactly.
but it also feels kind of radical.
It does challenge a lot of societal norms.
It does, but it also opens up the possibility for more genuine relationships
Where everyone is free to be themselves.
without the pressure of meeting someone else's expectations.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And this all ties into another core concept.
Hit me with it.
Community feeling.
Ah, yes. Community feeling.
That sense of belonging.
To something larger than ourselves.
Have you ever felt that?
Oh, absolutely. It's like this deep connection.
Even with complete strangers.
It can happen anywhere, anytime.
The book uses the example of buying a loaf of bread.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
It makes you think about all the people involved.
The farmers, the bakers, the delivery driver.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all connected.
We are, even in the most ordinary things.
So to our listeners, what communities do you feel connected to?
What comes to mind for you?
And maybe even more importantly,
How can you contribute to that community?
that leads us to Adler's definition of happiness.
Oh, this is a good one.
It might surprise you.
It surprised me.
What is it?
Contribution.
Contribution.
Yeah, it's not about what we get.
But what we give.
Exactly.
The book uses the example of the young man's grandfather
Who is bedridden.
and seemingly unable to contribute in a traditional sense.
Right, and the philosopher challenges this whole idea that our worth is tied to our productivity.
He suggests that simply existing is enough.
That's a powerful message.
It is, especially in a culture obsessed with achievements.
It makes you rethink what truly matters,
It does. Like, what can we offer to the world?
even in the smallest of ways.
I'm feeling a real shift in my thinking here.
Me too.
I hope our listeners are too.
It's all about perspective.
And action.
Right, taking action.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah,
there's one more crucial element of Adlerian psychology.
was it that?
The idea that happiness is a choice.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Happiness is a choice, huh?
That's what Adler says.
It's like we don't have to wait for things to be perfect.
Nope, we can choose to be happy right now.
Like right here, right now.
Exactly.
It's not about achieving some goal.
No, not at all.
Or waiting for things to change.
It's about how we experience each moment.
Like, regardless of what's going on around us.
Exactly. It's a powerful idea.
It is. It really is.
But it doesn't mean ignoring our problems.
Right.
No, not at all.
Or pretending everything is perfect.
It's about accepting reality.
All of it.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay, but how can we accept ourselves
Yeah.
and still strive for growth?
It's a balance, for sure.
It sounds kind of contradictory.
It can feel that way.
The book talks about this through self-acceptance.
Yeah, and self-affirmation.
What's the difference?
Self-affirmation is like trying to convince ourselves we're better than we are.
Oh, okay.
It's like focusing only on our strengths.
And downplaying our weaknesses.
Exactly.
So it's like putting on a mask.
Yeah, it's like pretending to be something we're not.
That whole fake it till you make it thing.
Right, and Adler believed that actually leads to more self-doubt
Really?
in the long run. Yeah.
So what's the alternative?
Self-acceptance.
Okay, tell me about that.
Self-acceptance is about acknowledging our imperfections,
Our flaws,
all the things we don't like about ourselves.
and embracing them anyway.
It's about realizing we're all works in progress.
No one's perfect.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that need to be perfect
It's about giving ourselves permission to be human.
with all our quirks and contradictions.
It sounds kind of liberating.
It is. It really is.
This reminds me of something else from the book.
What's that?
Those life lies we tell ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Those life lies.
What are they exactly?
A life lie is basically a story we create,
To justify our unhappiness.
or why we're not moving forward,
Like blaming our circumstances
or other people.
for our problem.
Right. It's a way to avoid responsibility.
So like saying, I
Yeah.
can't be happy because of my childhood.
Or I'll never get that promotion because my boss hates me.
Those are some pretty common life lies.
They are, but they keep us stuck.
Adlerian psychology says,
Toss those stories aside.
focus on what we can control
Our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions.
in this moment.
Right now.
So to our listeners out there, what life lies might you be holding on to?
What stories are keeping you from happiness?
What comes to mind for you?
It's time to challenge those stories
It's time to step outside your comfort zone.
and embrace the courage to be disliked.
Wow, this has been a deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much,
so much ground.
but it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore.
There is, but one thing is clear.
What's that?
These ideas, they can change our lives.
If we're willing to put in the work.
I'm walking away feeling hopeful,
Me too.
inspired.
Absolutely.
I feel like I have a deeper understanding of myself
That's great.
and my relationships.
That's what it's all about.
And I'm ready to embrace that courage to be disliked.
That's where the magic happens.
It's where the freedom lies.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep choosing happiness.
And remember, you have the power to create a meaningful life.
It all starts with accepting yourself, believing in others.
And contributing to something larger than yourself.